Hey everyone, I'm joined by Der8auer to talk about his, what is this? Der schnellestes dual socket system der Welt. Did you guys just like give up when you were making your language? Like you got to the 1700s and just stopped? Just dual socket system?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes I'm thinking about a name and I don't even know how to say it in German. It's really bad,
So this is the fastest system in the world, apparently. It's got 2 Threadripper CPUs, EPYC CPUs, excuse me. It's definitely not the same thing. 2 EPYC CPUs, and it's a 7601 32 core part. So 2 of those, a whole bunch of RAM, and a massive motherboard that you haven't seen the likes of before. It's actually a custom shape. It's kind of got an L shape to it. So very interesting, and Der8auer is going to walk us through some of the overclocking process on this system. Before that, this video is brought to you by the EVGA CLC280 liquid cooler. People ask me how I keep cool during the summer with all this hair. Well, I've tried a lot of different products, and few do exactly what I need. Many of them cause tangles or worse. EVGA CLC280 helps keep my core temperatures low during hot benchmarking sessions. The CLC280 is price competitive and focuses on performance for value, offering a 280 liquid cooler at an affordable price. Get yours at the link in the description below. Hair mounting kit sold separately. So, where do we even start with this? I mean, what's the background here?
I mean, so the background was that a friend came up to me and said, hey, do you know that it's possible to overclock EPYC? And I was like, wait, what? And so we tried it first on a single socket super microboard, which worked out fairly okay. I mean, it's an okay board. Then we bought a dual socket super microboard. Then we bought a second dual socket super microboard because we could not ever get it to boot on the first one because we have so many issues with this socket. It's amazing that you have to mount the CPU 10 times to get all memory channels to boot up. On the super microboard, we never managed to do it. Luckily, on the ASUS board, it worked fine. Like we had some initial problems, but once you mounted it 2 times, it worked fine. So that's already a huge progress. And
yes, booting is a good start.
Getting this to boot took us like 2 or 3 days. So that was the first challenge, getting it to boot. In general, this mainboard is amazing. If you look at the components, especially if you look at the VRMs, what is really impressive is the fact that there are more phases and a bigger VRM for the memory sticks than for the CPUs. I mean, it's mainly because you have those high density sticks, like 128 gigabyte per DIMM. And if you plug the whole bunch in there, you have 32 slots. They take a lot of power. So yeah, VRM for the memory is really impressive. What's also very impressive is that on the right side, from you guys on the left side, we have all those 8-pin connectors, and we first thought those are like additional CPU power, but they are VGA powered. So if we want to plug in VGA cards in the bottom, we have to power those. But they're also connected to the CPU power plane. So we could plug them to give the CPU additional power, which we first thought might be necessary. Turns out that the PSUs are strong enough. So we have 2 800 watts PSUs in there. Looking at the shape, like they're really small, but they're also really, really powerful. So yeah, I was really amazed by how much power the server really delivers.
So is it split for 1 PSU per CPU, or is it just all together?
No, so you can power the whole rig with 1 PSU only. It's always going for the full thing. So we tried that first, only 1 PSU, then we overclocked the CPUs, and then we had OCP on the CPU on the PSU. Because if you overclock them, we have 450 watt per CPU. So then we plugged in both, and it works fine. So well.
And so you mentioned GPU, you mentioned how you have extra power headers just for the GPU. I should note, he's got the most advanced GPU in the world in here, a GP107. It's actually not been announced this week, and it's not on the card. You're missing the Novec fluid though. So the plan here, I guess there was some shipping difficulty with it, right? I mean, it's got to travel for an event, and it's not uncommon for issues to happen with anything that's liquid. So the plan, as I understand it, is for now it's just the glue is drying. But we'll have hopefully some footage from later on tonight when it's been filled with the Novec 7100 fluid. So what is 71? I know there's different types of Novec. What's the boiling point on 7100?
7100 is 61 degrees Celsius. As I said before, yeah, so we had some transportation issues because it's an acrylic box, 10 millimeter thick acrylic. It's fairly strong, but still, like one of the sides cracked open when it arrived, so I had to re-glue it. the glue takes 24 hours to harden, so on the first day we have to leave it empty. But then we will fill it, and it's really impressive. It looks so impressive, and it's not just for fun. We need this stuff to cool the VRM. When we did the first video with the single socket board, we actually poured Novec all the time on the VRM, because the VRM is not made for 500 watt power consumption, right? So that's why we need the Novec in there. And it's not only that, it's also to protect the components from condensation. Because this is all hooked up to a chiller. We're all fans of chillers, you know.
Yeah, some of us more public than others, but
yeah, I mean, some say it, some don't. So it's hooked up to a chiller. The chiller is stored in this box. And obviously, if we go below room temperature, we will have condensation. But if we fill this with Novec, mainly we have the Novec fluid on the board, which is protecting the board, but then you also have the gas in there, which is pushing out all the oxygen, all the water that's in the air. So we don't have condensation if this is filled with Novec. That's the big point.
So you just fill it to the top, and then it doesn't need to go through a condensation process to, because we saw your phase change loop, phase shift I think you called it. So it sounds a bit different from that, right? Like you're just filling this to the top.
Yeah, I mean we just fill this for the for the sake of protecting the components. It's a completely different approach. Yeah.
Very interesting. So overclocking then, what kind of control do you even have with EPYC? It's not like your Threadripper, Ryzen, or Intel desktop stuff. What do you have to do?
So in general, there are several limitations. So first of all, I mean, basically the board has a very low OCP, should be something like 300 watts or 250 watts. And so we first have to disable OCP, which is not that easy, but we have an I2C connector directly next to the VRM controller. So we can hook up an EVC from Elmore, which is an I2C device. It will also be on sale. We just make that for enthusiasts like you guys, so end of this year I think you can buy it. And so with the EVC we can disable the OCP. Then there is also a voltage limitation, so EPYC is voltage locked as well. So if you try a normal software for pushing the voltage, I think you're capped at 1.3 volts. So that's the limit, so we also had to bypass the voltage limit with the EVC. And then obviously there is the overclocking limitation, because EPYC is not meant to be overclocked. But I cannot disclose it for now because we might still need this for EPYC 2, and we don't want it to be locked, so.
Yeah, fair enough. So went through some special hoops to get it working, it sounds like. Anything else you want to talk about here? I mean, what about, we haven't talked about performance at all. So yeah. What have you done mostly for benchmarks? How does it compare to the next most powerful system?
I mean, it's the most powerful dual socket system, the highest Cinebench.
Schnellest dual socket system der Welt. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, next time we will just make a video in German on my channel. How about that?
Sounds a little intimidating.
Bromance.
That was the top comment. So, quick sidetrack here. Rowan and I were reading some of the comments from the previous video we were in, and the first one that he saw was something like Best Bromance 2018 or something like that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment. Whoever wrote that, props to you.
Well done. All right, so performance, how does it compare to other stuff?
It's really, really fast. So the thing is, like stock performance would be something like 6,000 roughly points in Cinebench. We achieved over 10,000, which shows how much those CPU are capable of if AMD would unlock them. And then there's also the limit in the memory sticks. So those are 2666 memory sticks. In BIOS of this board, we can go up to like 3200, but it does not apply because the CPUs are locked. And we're also hitting a memory limit at this point because we figured out that if we overclock the CPUs higher from 10,000 points in Cinebench, it does not scale anymore. So it seems like there is some other bandwidth limitation, and it's most likely memory.
Yeah. So for power consumption, once you start really pushing these to the frequencies you're at, how much does power consumption change?
It's double. So going from typically, those CPUs are like roughly 1 volt voltage and 2.2 to 2.8 gigahertz depending on load. We pushed it to 4 gigahertz, 1.4 volt, and then we have 500 watt power consumption per CPU.
And what's the stock frequency on these?
Yeah, 2.2 to 2.8 roughly, yeah.
Okay.
It's like fluctuating a lot.
Very impressive. Anything else you want to note here about this or about your booth here at Keegan?
I think we're pretty much done, like literally.
Cool. So we got it all. There's nothing left to see here. If anyone else uploads videos from Case Kane's booth, don't even bother. You heard it from Roman first. Thank you for watching. Roman, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for the video, man.
Yeah, and we'll see you all next time.